Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Christal. Today, I have a really interesting topic that I want to talk to you about, and I really want you to think about your situation as I'm describing what our past, if it's kind of unresolved or not even really understood, how it can be impacting our current relationships, and really not even just the relationship with our spouse, any relationship, right? Including that as a parent. And so before I do that, however, I wanted to let you listeners know who faithfully listen to this podcast, and I so appreciate you and I see you. I want to let you know that I am currently open for one-to-one private coaching. So before, you may have known that I was really focused on groups. And so I've now made the shift back to one-to-one because it really is a unique opportunity to work with someone very obviously closely and really get to spend time with them and help them through a transformation in their life in general, but also specifically in their relationships. So if that's something that you are in need of or something that you want to learn more about, I want you to schedule your consult. That's where you and I meet and we determine whether we are a good fit or not. And so the way that you can do that is just going to christalallen.com/chat. All right, let's go ahead and jump into today's show. So, what I realized is because of really my, you know, lack of understanding of what I was doing in my past relationships, I was able to see currently, right, in my current relationship, where like that resistance was, like the friction point, right? And so when you are experiencing that in your relationship, that use that as like a little alarm bell for you personally, that is something that possibly has some history to it, it has some roots to it, and it's really worth you having compassion for yourself and curiosity around why you're showing up the way that you are. So I'll give you an example. In my prior relationships, I would typically get to a point where there was some emotion, and this is in hindsight, right? I didn't know this at the time, that there was some emotion that I was basically unwilling to process, allow, deal with, however you want to say it. And so what I would do is I would just end the relationship. I was like, I'm out of here. And that would be it. It was literally like a light switch. There would be no, following them on Facebook, texting them, thinking about them. It probably almost a little abnormal, I admit it, right? But that is my truth. That is what it looked like in my past relationships. I would be in these really serious relationships. I never really learned to date, which is so interesting. Have you ever had the experience of looking at maybe your girlfriends and you see them like knowing how to date casually, primarily when you were younger? They know how to date more casually and just be easy and, have fun. And I was never able to do that. Like I would always get into these really serious, like long-term relationships. Anyway, it is what it is. But as I look back at those relationships, the cut off point, right? The turning point always ended with me saying something in my head like, why are we still, talking about the same thing over and over again? Like, why are we still, disagreeing on the same thing over and over again? I don't feel like being frustrated. I don't want to be annoyed. I don't want to be bothered. And it would just build up, right? So sometimes it would be discussed in the relationship, right? So it wasn't like it was completely unspoken. It would be discussed over the course of the relationship. And then at one point, something would just click in my head and I would just be done. Okay. So in my current marriage, my husband and I have been together for 10 years. We've known each other as the time of this recording, and then 9 years married this year. And so I realized early on, right, in the first couple of years, that tendency was about to come back again, right? Like, I don't have to put up with this, and right, and it's not even anything huge, right? was physically safe and all that stuff. So things that would like annoy me or that type of thing, or I thought it shouldn't be that way, or he shouldn't be that way. However, this relationship was different because I knew that it was really something that I wanted to be in long term. And so, of course, the more I started to do mind work and really understand what is going on behind the scenes that's creating the results in our life, I realized that it was, really me struggling being in the discomfort of my emotions. And so I want to challenge you that if you find yourself doing something similar to what I just described, you check out of situations, you run from situations, you have a hard time just kind of sitting and being with yourself in an emotion without eating, shopping, drinking, whatever that may be, right? Scrolling social media, instead of sitting with the emotion that you're experiencing, especially if it's an emotion that brings on discomfort, I want to challenge you that that can be a little alarm bell to pay attention to, because if we don't learn how to sit with and process our emotions, they just continue to loop, right? They just loop in our lives even harder, and they really become the barrier in our lives from us getting what we want in our relationship. So I really want you to kind of hear me and learn from the lesson that I learned in my experience, that it's okay to be in that discomfort. And matter of fact, I almost encourage it, because you know what? In that moment, you really get to learn more about you as an individual and what triggers you. What are some things that your spouse is doing, for example, that makes you think a certain way? And then next thing you know, you're off to the races arguing or whatever. So really use it as an opportunity to learn more about you. And if you do this from a place of compassion, really no judgment, no blaming, no shame. Okay. Do this from a place of compassion. And interestingly enough, if you have this approach within yourself, automatically you'll be able to extend it to your spouse as well, because they got their own stuff going on, right? They probably have things from their past very unintentionally, right? Just like you, that may be very much playing a huge role in your current relationship. Okay. So many times when we're interacting with our spouse in that present moment, it is not just the two of you. It's not just my husband and I. It's like, if you were to imagine it, it's you two, and then whatever, like luggage that's like behind you two. Just get that imagery in your mind, right? So like it's my husband and I having a conversation or a disagreement, but just along with us in that space is luggage from past hurts, past situations that happened, even if it wasn't with, even if it wasn't with my husband, and even for him, if it wasn't with me. Sometimes those things just stay with us in a very, it seems quiet, in a quiet way, but it really does play a big role. So I really encourage you, shift from that place of judgment, right? And go to compassion and curiosity. And then you find a lot of understanding around why you're showing up the way that you are. Okay. And this is something that has really been powerful in client work, is just seeing, why are we experiencing things the way that we currently are? How can we get a different result? And it really does start from a place of understanding in the beginning why it's happening, right? So we can't just jump to the fuzzy, happy thoughts, right? We have to figure out, what is the catalyst? What is the root cause of this? I even think about being raised primarily as an only child and having some understanding around that more recently about some of the difficulties I have as a parent, right? And so I'm sure sometimes it's personality wise as well. But when I being raised as an only child, for example, I didn't have siblings around me who I got to see them go through their emotions, right? I didn't see them throwing tantrums. I didn't see them, just going through their own emotions. And so most of my childhood, I was like a little adult, right? And I was praised for doing so. And so it got to a point where I was very young, where that's just how I operated. And I didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. That's like what I knew is what to do. And so, and I didn't have any, siblings in the household with me to show different or to challenge that or be like, oh, maybe I don't have to be so serious or what have you. And so when I am sometimes parenting, right, my son, and he's having his emotions, of course, especially knowing what I know now, that's definitely something that I want to nurture. And that's something that I want to respect, right? Because even though he's young, he's having his own journey and his own little life experience in that moment. But sometimes I'm not that advanced in the moment, right? Many times it's like, why can't you just ask me that, that you want the banana? Why you gotta whine and cry and throw yourself on the floor? Right? Like, what is going on? And so, I would sometimes get tripped up just feeling like an alien, like I do not understand like what is going on. And so I share both my parenting and my relationship examples just to let you guys know that our past very much usually has a big impact on how we're showing up in our current lives. And so, if you need help with this, I would love to talk with you about it. And I really want you to think about what you've heard in this podcast today and just sit with it for a moment and just give yourself some grace and think about what areas of your past may be showing up in your current relationship or even you as a parent, right? All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much. I look forward to coming on next week with another shorty episode. Until then, have a wonderful day. Bye.